Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Lucky Duck. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
If you're still dove hunting, use the Lucky Duck dove spinners.
World
it will
changer.
change the way you dove hunt.
Yep. Nobody believes that until they actually do it. They will decoy just like ducks do. So anyways, check out the Lucky Duck spinners. Holler at them, or holler them over at Lucky Duck. They'll take care of you. With us today, our friend, country music artist who has a new song out, Do Not California, My Carolina, Mr. Andrew Beam. Andrew, how are you doing, sir?
Doing very good. Good to be back, man. Thank you all for having me on.
Do Not California, My Carolina.
That's a good tune.
I appreciate it. They're shadow banning the living heck out of it, so I'm very thankful y'all are bringing me on today.
Are they really?
Dude, it's got like 400 spins since it dropped on Friday.
Oh, my God.
I've actually lost half my listeners on Spotify, which is crazy, and I don't think it has anything to do. It just keep in mind before we drop a song, I usually play a song out for a number of months to see how the crowd reacts to it. And I don't think it has anything to do with the songs. Everybody seems to love it. We've been selling the heck out of merch on it. It's just the fact that, unfortunately, I think the algorithms got a hold of it, man, and I don't have to explain any of that to y'all, but it's very interesting to me because several of the playlisting entities I usually get on did not pick the song up this go around.
It's absolutely, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for here. It just blows my mind, the stupidity of people that vote for the left when all they do is censor everything that doesn't play into their bag of tricks. Everything. It don't matter what you do. If you do not toe the line with them, and it's going to get worse if we don't win this election. I mean, can you believe that in our time that you can be censored for singing a song, Don't California, My Carolina? I mean, that's just absolutely stupid, but that's the world we live in right now. I just saw where Saturday Night Live did a mock. They made fun of the Trump assassination. They did a skit on that.
Really?
Oh,
I mean, what kind of world? Could you imagine if someone would have did that to Obama and you'd have done that shit? They'd have fried your ass, and they should.
Well, they did just make fun of Kamala and Waltz, too, though.
Doing what?
There's a lot of material there.
Well, making fun of someone, if they would have made fun of Trump for eating cheeseburgers or some other shit, that's life.
I get it.
Johnny Carson did that to all politicians years ago. But to make fun of him getting someone shoot him, that's like making fun of fucking Lincoln.
Yeah, it's a low blow for sure, but
that's
well, and with the sad and scary part about that is that obviously I don't have to tell y'all this either, but nobody looks at history anymore, and regardless of what side is in power, regardless of what nation it is, anytime there's an assassination of a head entity, there's always insane chaos after that. Wars generally follow. So for anybody to make fun of that, it's definitely not something to be taken lightly, even if it was on the other side of it. We're not going to be making fun of that. Either way, it's a bad deal. So yeah, you're right, man. It's a weird world we live in.
Yeah, it's horrible. I would never, ever, I cannot stand Obama. I cannot stand a lot of politicians. Don't like Nancy Pelosi, but I don't want to see anybody do anything to her. I mean, I would like to see them get rid of her, vote her out, send her to prison, but I don't want to. I don't want to see someone assassinate or shoot someone like that. And
I don't think the average American truly grasps how close we were to a civil war.
Oh, they don't.
I mean, we were 6 inches away from an all-out brawl.
Yeah, and the sad, or not the sad thing, that the thing that they don't realize on the left is they wasn't going to win in that battle.
Right.
It's, guys with pink hair flipping dildos around are not going to be able to take on rednecks. That's the bottom line to that whole deal. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, who you taking in a fight? You taking some redneck guy? You taking some limp wrist guy from Hollywood, California?
And I heard somebody talking like we are a very, very young country, and we're kind of going through some growing pains right now. That just trying to figure out where we are, and but like you don't really understand how young of a country we really are. It seems like we're old. 300 years or whatever seems old. Not even 300, right?
But historically, no,
we're a young country, and
Yep.
we're kind of going through some weird transitions right now. But I really believe if that would have connected, it would have been the end of whatever we are today.
Yeah, there would.
And we live in a world where there's been too much luxury, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy for it, but there's a lot of people, and it's maddening because if you work hard for something and you appreciate what you have, then obviously you take offense when that is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
The problem in today's world is you have people who never had to work hard for anything, so how can they ever appreciate what they actually have?
Right.
They don't know any different with that, and they don't have the capacity to look at it on a bigger scale, exactly what you're talking about. In that situation, nobody wins, and it's just not good. But on the lighted-hearted things, like even with a song, man, it's obviously I'm not a huge superstar country music singer at this point in time, but it's the AI that's censoring everything. It's not even somebody that's actively doing it. It's the algorithms that automatically you get filtered into something, or it takes one person to flag whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wild. I mean, I played the song, man. I think we wrote it back in March, and I've played it ever since. I've had 2 people been out of shape about it. One guy flipped me off in the parking lot about a month ago, I guess now. And before I could realize what he did, he flipped me off and yelled, "Fuck you," over the across the stage during a sound check. And I had to run my own sound at that event. It was an outdoor thing in South Carolina. I said, man, at least we're heard loud and clear. But before I could even react and realize what he did, he got in his car and drove off. I mean, that tells you. And the other one was actually, and y'all get a kick out of this, I was playing a show. It was a kind of a honky-tonk gig 2 weeks ago, and I just got these bumper stickers. And bumper stickers are not cheap, by the way. We don't skip on our material. We go through Charleston wraps, and it's basically wrap material. So you can take this off of a cooler or a vehicle and reapply it to anything you want to. So they cost some money. Usually sell them for about $5. And I was handing them out at this show, and there was a couple sitting there, and I gave it to the wife, and she was like, "Oh, I love this." And the guy looks at me, he's like, "Well, what is that supposed to mean?" And I was like, "Exactly what it says, don't California my Carolina." He's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I was like, "Well, quite frankly, I don't like Zombieland." Right. And the wife looks at him and looks at me, she goes, "I don't like Zombieland either." And you could just tell he was kind of like, he didn't say what he was wanting to say. And I played the show, and I played that song. The rest of my songs are really not any kind of bias. They're just country songs for real country people. Yeah. And when I came off stage to talk to them, I said, "Where y'all from?" And they said they live in Texas. If I had to guess, they are probably from California, and they now live in Texas.
Austin, Texas, probably.
Yeah, they're transplants.
But anybody
I hope they were just dating and she left him.
How can you not figure that shit out?
You left.
If you haven't been to California lately, I was in San Francisco for a couple of hours, and it ruined me I don't care if I ever go to fucking California again. And if you go to those places, you can't tell me that you don't understand why we don't want that shit in our states. I mean, I don't want Austin in Knox City. I don't want all the shit in some of the liberal places anywhere in the country. Any liberal place is a pain. You're either uber wealthy rich like Newport, Rhode Island, where those people, they're liberals, but they don't have a real clue about anything else in the world because they live in a different world than we are. Or you're living in the ghetto if you're a liberal area. And we don't want that crap. We want law and order. We don't want homelessness. It's not real hard. There's nothing coming out of California that's any good at all.
So we wrote that song with the intention. So to back up, so y'all have a little bit of backstory on this. Last time I was on the podcast, we discussed my background as a game warden. Well, there was a pilot that flew for us. He was a retired C-17 pilot, was a major in the Air Force. His retirement gig was flying the Cessna for game wardens. He was a game warden, but that was his role. He quit doing that to go fly commercial. And during that time was when I left DNR to go chase the country music dream. And we were drinking bourbon one night. He is obviously a smart guy in all aspects. He said, "Man, when are you going to write a chart topping hit? I mean, come on, it can't be that hard. You've been doing this for how long?" And I said, "Well, Don, if it's so easy," his name's Don Garbate. I said, "Why don't you do it?" He said, "Fine, don't California my Carolina." And I was like, "Golly, you are a genius.
Son of a bitch. It is that easy."
Yes. So we started joking around with it. Well, when we sat down to write it with my guitar player, Joe Taylor, Bennett's Point, South Carolina, and we automatically knew that, all right, going into this, there's no way we can write it without losing, in theory, 50%. I don't think it's 50%. We all know that. It's very skewed. But anybody who doesn't agree with that is not going to listen to my brand anyway. I hunt, fish, I play golf, and I play country. Right. So we wrote it, though, and a lot of people, once they start listening to the lyrics, think it's hysterical. I don't know if y'all listen to the whole song or not, but while we obviously mentioned leave all that crap behind you, but you can bring those Baywatch blondes with you.
Good part.
And at the end, we flipped it. So the song's honestly comical. We flipped it to where if you're gonna California, my Carolina, make sure your intentions are real, because we all love to sing to Dwight and Haggard. So be sure to bring those cats from Bakersfield. So I would say that's obviously that's dated, but nobody really in Nashville knows what Bakersfield, I don't think, even is now. So, but to us hardcore country fans, there's some decent stuff out of California. I know that my guitar strap maker is actually in the mountains of California, and she loves the song. Most of my buddies in Nashville, California, love the song because they agree with us. You know,
they know, they've been there.
Well, and there's parts of California that are, like Jeff said, he has said before, they're backwoods, rednecks. You know, he said, you know, you've never seen more rednecks than he did in Northern California, and they get it. Yep. They're just outvoted. You know what I mean? It's just, they're in a shitty place where Los Angeles, San Francisco, and I don't know how San Diego votes, but I'm sure it's just like any other big city. They vote blue.
Every city there.
And they just get outvoted. And their views are not represented accurately in California. So
yeah, well, it's just that way in South Carolina now. I mean, obviously that's why we did it, because I mean, Charleston has become exactly what everybody that has gone there tried to escape. Shocker, which is happening all over the place. And yeah, it is kind of why we live in a world where you get shadow banned for making a funny song, but yet you can obviously mock an assassination attempt on SNL. So it's wild, man.
Or you could talk about aborting a 9-month-old baby and it wouldn't matter. That's what's crazy. I don't understand. But the people need to stand up. We're our own worst enemies. The dumbest people in the world are the lower middle class and up to the poor people in this country, because we just keep taking this and taking this. I saw where AOC yesterday, she's been in office 6 years now, I think. She makes $170,000 a year, but she's worth $25 million.
She wrote a book, though, right?
Huh?
She read a book?
I don't know what she did, but she's worth $25 million. You name any other job that you can make $170,000 a year, and in 6 years you can accumulate $25 million of wealth. And everybody in Congress is that way, and we just take it. But one side, both sides are pieces of crap. I don't care much for the Republicans, much more to the Democrats. But the Democrats, all they do is push about all this wealth. We need to redistribute the wealth, do this. Every one of them fuckers is rich. They're not giving their money up. And they're ruining our country. I mean, our country, unless you go to small town America, and I don't care if you're in California, New York, Florida, Kentucky, any small town, everybody's quite the same. They know their neighbors, they're respectful, they'll help you out if you need something. And we need to get back to that in our country. And this song, when you talk about bringing the blondes from Baywatch, hell yeah. And everybody agrees with that.
Well, and obviously we put Texas in there as the first state we mentioned, so I had to give a tip of the hat to y'all. It's been too long since I've set foot there, and looking forward to coming back at some point.
So talk to me about Nashville right now, because it seems like country music is kind of in a weird place, right? I mean, you got Post Malone coming over to country music. You got Machine Gun Kelly that he put out Lonely Road, and that's kind of got a country music vibe. I don't know. I feel like there's I can't put my finger on country music anymore.
Didn't Beyonce have a song come out?
Yeah,
a country song?
Well, I mean, you got Shaboozey. I don't know if you classify him as country, but like he's more of that alt rock kind of stuff. And I don't know that you can put country music in a box anymore.
It's been that way for a while. I think it's interesting now that everybody wants to be country in a world that demands authenticity. We're sometimes too real. And, I say that, though, Shaboozey, I've listened to that guy for years, and I don't know that I consider him country, but I love his music. Yeah, so like that Beverly Hills song he had.
Fantastic. I like that. Annabelle, Let It Burn. He's got about 4 or 5 ones that are just, and my wife loves them. Like that's what if we're sitting outside grilling or something, we got Shaboozey on.
Yeah, I would say I'm with you, man. I think it's pop if you want to get out there, but there's really not a pop scene anymore. So I think that there's, ironically enough, in the history of country music, country mainstream has always followed the pop charts and the pop scenes. That's where the money's at. In a pie chart, I mean, in my world, country music is everything, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a very small genre compared to the rest of music. So that's why it's always done that. People are like, man, why did country go pop? Well, that's exactly why, because that's where the money's at. That's what your main consumer is listening to. I'm hoping that the pendulum is swinging, obviously for our sakes, because we are a twangy traditional country, and Zach Top's leading that charge, no doubt. But I love Nashville, man. I've been there. I'm looking at my calendar now. At least 1 week out of the month for the last probably 4 months. We've been recording a lot, been writing a lot, got some really good writes lately. I try to go up there and play shows too. I'm really glad that I was not coming back from Nashville this past week because I take 40 through Knoxville, way down through North Carolina. So obviously, thoughts and prayers to everybody out that direction. That's where I'm from, in Western North Carolina. But yeah, we spent a lot of time there, but everybody that we've talked to, there's a lot more people like us than I ever realized, which is great because you hear how liberal Nashville is, and I'm sure that there's, you have your obvious celebrities and whoever else is going to lean certain directions, but I have yet to find them. And maybe that's just because I don't roll in those circles, but I've been in a lot of places between Nashville and here and everywhere else. And I think that's got a lot to do with the pendulum swinging because people are fed up. And that's where the music is starting to hopefully realign back into what we consider country.
Yeah, the country, I would say country and ironically like rap music are the most honest styles of music, right? Because it's all about your experience. And you get a rapper on there and he's talking about his experience of whatever it was, Eminem or pick your favorite rapper, doesn't matter. They're authentic to what they grew up around. Same as country music. You know what I mean? It's authentic to the way that you were brought up. And then, you got this pop and it's kind of just this feel good music that everybody can relate to. But rap and country music are about authenticity. Mm-hmm. So it's just crazy that now we're seeing like we're being flooded like country music. I think it's a good thing that people are coming to country music. I think it's a good thing that Post Malone put out a country album because I think it brings more attention to what you guys are doing, right? Like the pie gets bigger.
Yep. Yeah, that's my take on it. And country music fans are like no other. And I have a chance to say that everything we just talked about probably has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of these mainstream pop people are looking for an outlet to say what they want to say, obviously like Post Malone, and you get that different fan experience. I mean, I hate the word fans because a lot of my fans have become family. I mean, I think I've got a guest bedroom from here to Texas, wherever I need one, which I'm very fortunate for. And I'm a nobody country singer, but that's definitely one thing that is going to bring more people into that basically culture of music. So yeah, I'm here for it, man. I'm just ready to get all our songs out. I really thought this one right here was going to go through the stratosphere, and at least it's out. So it might be one of those delayed things, but it's shocking to me because the last one we dropped, since I've talked to y'all, we dropped probably 4 singles out of Nashville, and we dropped one called Strings, and I only put that song out because the fans wanted it. So I wrote it in like 5 minutes. I honestly wrote that song to open up the full band show. It's high energy. It's a rocker. It's almost got some Skynyrd vibes in it. But people were asking where to find it. So I was like, well, content is key in today's world. So we dropped that song. And it took off like a shot out of a cannon, at least compared to numbers we generally have. And then this one dropped Friday. And it was just wild to see how – and I'm not talking just Spotify. I'm talking Instagram, any analytics that I can see on my side. Obviously, as a countrypreneur, I look at all that. The most they have a management team checking that out for them, but it was very interesting to me how it just like it hit a wall, and that's the only explanation, and we all know it to be true. It's AI censorship, man.
Yeah, I get that way. Like I'll chop podcasts up into videos and everything, and I'm like, okay, this one's gonna take off. Nothing. We had a Navy SEAL on, and he talked about some of the shit that he did, in his career, and I'm like, Navy SEAL content's popular. Like this is gonna do really, really well. It did not. Like, I don't know what I don't know what words like triggered the algorithms, but like you're talking about like on TikTok for sure. Like there's videos, 50 to 100,000 views. And like this one's in the hundreds. Like, how does that even compute? You know what I mean? Like I put out one video a week ago and it's got 100,000 views or 50,000 views. And then this one's it doesn't even break 1,000. Like what's happening here?
Yeah, it makes no sense. And I got tired of chasing. I actually deleted TikTok last week or 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Because for me, it was not worth the amount of time. And I love making videos. I could get, like, the number one video I had on TikTok was a buddy of mine bass fishing, swinging around. He had his shirt stuffed with a hoodie. He looked like an old man. He had like a cigarello in his mouth, and he's swinging around on this Bill Dance like pedestal seat. I don't know if you've seen those. They're like an SC, and he's got Limp Bizkit playing on the turtle box, and that thing took off. But that doesn't do anything for business.
Right.
Doesn't do anything to push anything to make the time worthwhile. And any time that I would push something, either got a stalker, some kind of weird threat, or you name it. So I was like, you know what? I'm focusing, and I hate to say that, obviously on Instagram and Facebook, but that takes enough time as it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. And even there, it's the same way. You'll have something that will take off, but I still think a lot of that's how much you're paying into it.
Yeah.
I believe in brute force and ignorance and really solid fan base and covering a lot of ground. And I think that by bumper stickers, T-shirts, and everything else, at some point, there's got to be enough word spread. Same thing with podcast and branding overall. So I think it's a lot going on in people's everyday brain, and that could have a lot to do with it too, is that there's just so much you get outcompeted a lot of times. It's just bad timing.
Right. Yeah. TikTok's going through a weird transition right now because they're pushing the TikTok shop. So like a lot of the organic growth is not there anymore if you're not selling anything or, that whole thing. So TikTok definitely is not what it was. I was a late adopter to TikTok because, China and all this other bullshit. And I wish I would have got on it, like when everybody else did during COVID. And, I'd have 4 times the amount of followers I got on it rather than now, but I missed the boat regardless. But I was towards the tail end of kind of that organic growth and, outperforming Facebook and Instagram. But one thing TikTok did is it forced Facebook and Instagram to kind of tinker with their algorithms to push a lot of different videos. So Facebook and Instagram are a good place right now to get views.
I got a Nashville question for you.
What you got?
I read something a couple days ago, and it's had to do the P. Diddy bullshit. But supposedly that's overlapping into Nashville, and there's a lot of Nashville people are really nervous and worried about this. Do you believe any of that?
There's definitely some interesting cats wherever you go.
Yes.
I can say that I don't know about any of it because I have not associated myself into any of those weird circles.
Yeah. I didn't get an invite. I'm not saying I wouldn't have gone. I never was invited. You know what I mean?
in my 20 to 25 year age, there've been some fun parties to go to.
Right.
Well, what kills me is if you know you're under investigation, I guess it's coming from the prior law enforcement mindset, why would you not get rid of some of the stuff at your house? Is it just that you feel like you're that untouchable?
I think he was using it to blackmail others.
Yeah.
Is what I think he was
doing. But
doing.
it incriminates himself too, though, is what's crazy.
Let me.
Right.
You're a former game warden. I'm a former judge. So
right.
I look at things through different lenses sometimes, and fair's fair. Don't like somebody. It's still what the law is the law, and fair's fair. If it's all people over age, I don't really have an issue with this. If you're blackmailing people, that's a different story. But if you're just with a bunch of other whack jobs and y'all are having group sex and everybody's of age 18 years or older, hey, I don't feel sorry for Sharon Stone. She showed her twat to the world for a bunch of money, and now she acts like she's a victim. Well, she's lived a damn good life because she did. If I had one, I'd show it to everybody for that kind of money. But yesterday, Hillary Clinton tweeted out, there's fixing to be a video coming out with Kamala at a P. Diddy party that's very perverse. Now, just remember this. This is just a tool to divide, is what she said. That's telling me that there is really a fucking wild-ass tape fixing to be released that they know about.
Hillary Clinton really tweeted that?
Yes. Yesterday.
That's the first I've heard of that. That's wild.
With Kamala. So, I know Kamala went to all these parties and stuff. Now,
what if she's a...
If Hillary tweeted this out, it must be there. They know it's coming down the road. They said it's going to be the October surprise. And I read it yesterday.
I cannot find it.
Well, they may have taken it off, but I did. I read it, and it was Hillary Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton talking to somebody. It may not have been her tweet, but it was her interviewed, and she said this. She goes, "We are fixing to see." I wish I had a screenshot it now. She goes, "There is going to be something come out that is very perverse about Kamala." But please don't let them distract you with this. That's not what it's about, blah, blah, blah. That means there's something out there. And I've been hearing there's a lot of videos of a lot of celebrities, and there's some floating around Hollywood, I guess they're making the rounds right now, that they say is going to go public before long. So I don't know, but I've also heard from some people that in Nashville, there's a lot of worried people that are also involved in a lot of this. It's not just Hollywood, it's also Nashville.
Right. Which, I mean, it doesn't surprise me though, because you get, some not down to earth, out of touch individuals that, I mean, it's in any kind of entertainment line of work, I feel like.
Who
But
out there,
uh,
who is going to be shocked of anybody that's a star right now? I mean, who would you be shocked that had something come out about him? I can't think. George Strait, maybe. I can't think of anyone out there that would really shock me. That's like Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani. There ain't nothing they'll do would shock me. Kenny Chesney, no. Brad Paisley and his wife, maybe, because he seems to be. I don't care much for him because of his politics, but he seems to be a pretty good family guy. But I mean, Dolly Parton. I mean, I just don't. I can't think of anybody that would shock me.
That's an untouchable.
No, that. If you come out today and said Taylor Swift had a video with her having sex with 3 guys and they used bananas and bongos, I would not be shocked.
Right.
I mean, I really wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, Post Malone, would you be surprised? No.
No.
Eminem, no.
I wonder if it's more on the industry side, like a producer or, some of the, I say lesser known, but we'd probably know if we heard the names, kind of deal. But yeah, I don't know. That's the first I've heard of that, but I'm not surprised.
Ronnie Spector is a perfect example of what goes on in Hollywood. And for people that don't know do you know who Ronnie Spector is?
I
Andy?
do not.
Ronnie Spector wrote that song Eddie Money. God, what's his big song? Gonna Feel Me Tonight. Take Me Home Tonight. Take Me Home Tonight. He wrote that. He was a music producer. I think he produced the Beatles, the Stones. I mean, he was a big time dude. He murdered a lady in his living room. But he was a fried out old druggy guy, looked about like what you'd expect him to be. But he was a record producer in Hollywood that was untouchable, and he was for a long time. Are you looking him up, Andy?
Yeah, trying to.
Yeah, but he was a very weird dude.
Oh shit.
Is it Ronnie Spector's his name, right?
This Ronnie Spector looks like a chick.
Okay, no, that's the singer. Then it's her husband is the Spector guy. That's because Ronnie is Take Me. It's Sing It Again. Ronnie is what Eddie Money says in that song. She was married to
Phil Spector.
Phil Spector. That's the name. Phil Spector. Yes. Look at all the people he produced and stuff.
Okay.
He was a big time Hollywood guy, a weird dude, and he killed a lady, and we got blacked out drunk and shot her and done drugs. But he kept all these women around all the time. He was kind of a P. Diddy guy, but he was doing it for his own entertainment. I think P. Diddy was doing Epstein stuff, and I think he was recording and holding everything.
Maybe the Beatles. He might have found the Beatles.
I don't think he found anybody. He just produced them.
He became their new manager.
Yeah, he done. I mean, he was a big dick in Hollywood for a long time in Hollywood. Big time music guy.
I love 50 Cent's take on it. I don't know if you've seen the interviews of 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I think
that would be the equivalent if I'm in Nashville or in a green room somewhere and I hear some weird crap going on. I think I'd be like, yeah, I'm going see it.
I think I got to leave all of a sudden.
50 Cent, I watched that show Empire is really a good series with him, and he's on that, and I think he wrote it, and he's a good actor too. And I don't know none of his music. I'm sure I've heard it 1,000 times. I'm old. I don't listen to that kind of music, or if I do, I didn't know it was him. But guys like him, when you listen to him talk and you listen to Cat Williams talk, it makes you know Jay-Z is nervous right now because his buddy, him and Sean Diddy, were they friends or enemies?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know where the lines are drawn in rap music.
Both
anymore.
billionaires, right?
Yeah.
One billionaire's locked up right now and with no bond. So Jay-Z knows he's not untouchable if him and his wife are involved in this like they say. So.
Well, then you got every time you see Ben Affleck and J-Lo like that. I mean, there's a lot that makes sense. You can turn anything. Obviously, everybody's thriving off this now with videos and whatever they're posting on it. But, I mean, because it wasn't that long ago, 5 or 6 years ago, the Illuminati thing was really coming to a head when it was Jay-Z and Beyonce that were heading it up. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I guess at some point you get that much money and you lose your mind and create your own religion, if you will. So, but, yeah, I'm definitely not drinking that.
There's a lot of rumors about J-Lo and Ben Affleck. Somebody from the FBI, the CIA, this is a rumor, and of course, so it's probably 10% true and 90% false, that someone from the FBI leaked videos to Ben Affleck of J-Lo at all these parties, and that's why they're getting divorced again.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So don't know how true any of that is, but Beyonce was with Destiny's Child, if I'm correct. Mm-hmm. And then did they get did Jay-Z and them find them, or did someone else find them? Because Taylor Swift was found by Toby Keith.
And Taylor Swift, to my knowledge, she was one of those that I think her family, and I could be wrong in saying this, but I've heard it several times. Her family was very affluent, and they had connections, and they ended up, which was a genius PR move. They bought like her first 100,000 copies of her CD, so she went, gold or whatever, like her first.
Pretty smart people then.
Right. So that to my understanding, I've heard that there are boxes still in like their attic of CDs or whatever else, but that's what got her the buzz. And then Eric Church got in trouble with Rascal Flatts for playing too long and too loud, and they kicked him off that tour, and they brought her on, and he went behind them. It was the Me and My Gang tour, and he played the Me and Myself tour, and every single town they played, but he played like underground rock clubs. And then when she got brought on, and I think the Toby Keith thing, I don't know if it happened before or after simultaneously, she took off the Stratosphere. She wrote Eric Church a handwritten letter and was like, "Thank you for playing too long and too loud."
Well, I'm not a Swiftie by any means, but the girl's got to be uber talented to do what she has done. I mean, she has to be. Like I like Miranda Lambert, and she's kind of disappeared off the deal. But I mean, she grew up with a honky tonk. I guess she used to have to drive her parents home drunk from the bars every night, I think, and that's where she learned to sing and stuff. But all those kids got a neat story. I don't have anything against a 19 or 20-year-old girl doing whatever it takes to get ahead in that business, because that's a cutthroat business. And we've had this argument. Me and Andy argued with Andy's wife the other day about this. These kids ain't victims, but if they were involved and drugged up a 15-year-old Rihanna, supposedly they doped her up and got her to sign a contract and all these things. If this stuff's true, then they need to do something about it. But the same shit has been going on. If you look at Sun Records, when they talk about Elvis and Johnny Cash, the same shit was going on back then that's going on nowadays. I mean, it's nothing new in that industry. You sell your soul to the devil, and you got to pay the piper eventually. And a lot of these people are fixing to, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, how do you? I mean, what would you do, Andrew? If somebody sits you down and is like, "All right, here's the contract. This is what it's going to cost you, but this is what you're going to get in return." I mean, this is what you're in the industry to do, right? And
for sure. Fortunately enough, I got into it when I was in my late 20s. And the guy that's my guitar player, who is now in his late 60s, he pretty much was like, "Dude, don't sign anything," which was a great piece of advice. Now, that's, joking until somebody puts a big fat check in front of your face. I have not. I had one record deal that I turned down. The other one, I just got turned down recently by one, but it was out of LA, and the whole thing, I think the guy was full of crap. He talked a good game, and I think that at the end of the day, he realized that I wasn't somebody that he was going to make a lot of money off of without doing anything, without working for it. We definitely would benefit from having the right manager, the right agent. The problem nowadays, and I don't know how it was back then, because things changed drastically with the disappearance of mechanical royalty. So when streaming came along, that pretty much wrecked the old school way of doing things. I'm sure that back then it was a lot different. But now, to my knowledge, anytime somebody cuts you a check, that's just an advance. So you're going to have to pay that back.
Oh.
And if they sign us three right now, and I'll get back to your question, but if they signed us three right now, what a lot of labels do, and now all these indie labels are popping up because you have to have a label to be successful to outcompete the majors or compete with them. Then you got guys like me that now end up like completely independent. You get buried in the algorithms, buried in the wash. But ironically enough, I'm on the road and playing more shows and have more songs than most people who are just getting on the road now for bigger acts. But they're in with the machine. But they're also the guys that sign for, oh, heck yeah, they gave me $25,000 and don't realize, or $100,000. Those labels farm multiple artists. They give them that advance. They cover everything, and they're basically just rolling the dice on who's going to hit. And if Jeff hits, then they don't have to play our stuff.
Right.
And at that point, you're at the mercy of, well, if the machine's not pushing it, if the labels aren't pushing it, you're not making any money, but yet you still owe them that money back. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're Morgan Wallen, clearly that $100,000 was made back in half a day. I'm sure that initially it wasn't like that. And the same goes with, and that's just on a like 360 record deal. Then there's publishing deals where basically they can, as a songwriter, they can buy your publishing rights. So if you make $1, that's 50 cents out of your dollar. And I'm at the point now to where I own everything, I make a decent living doing what I do, but I'm covering ground for it. And all at the same time, as far as mailbox money goes, 100% of zero is zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To answer your question, it would have to be the right contract. Fortunately enough, I look at it through an experienced view as opposed to some 19-year-old that's starving in Nashville. So, but man, if I jumped into Nashville like I was going to do initially, like quit DNR and move there, I guarantee you I would have signed something like that. And way less favorable than anything we just talked about. So it's just one of those things, man. It's the entertainment industry, and you are obviously playing Russian roulette too as an artist or an actor or whatever else you're doing. You just got to try to go with your gut and surround yourself with people who are not going to screw you. You know, I want everybody to benefit from whatever's happening.
I'll give you an interesting story. Have you ever heard of Jerry Reed? Not Jerry Reed that we all love, who sang Eastbound and Down. Have you heard of Jerry Reed, the songwriter? Jerry Reed was a songwriter upcoming in Nashville, and he wrote songs, and he was very good at it. He was a great guitar player. Now, this is a story told by his daughter, and I watched this video the other day, and I was trying to look for it, and I couldn't find it right now. His daughter says that he was approached by a sharp-looking guy, came to his hotel room after doing a deal somewhere, and told him, he said, I love your music. I want to buy all the music that you have, and you're going to be a star. It was Lucifer, supposedly. And it was the devil. And the devil came to him. He would not sell his soul to the devil. And he told him, he said, this is a one-time opportunity. One time. I'm never going to come to you again. But I'm going to come to you right now. And if you'll sell your soul to me, you will be a star. Your family will be rich. You'll be rich. But it's a one-time offer. And the guy he said, didn't feel right, and he turned it down. Now, he didn't say sell the soul to the devil. I don't know exactly, but there's a video somewhere, and I cannot find it. But the guy's name's Jerry Reed, and Reed is spelled R-E-I-D. And I just saw this the other day, and I wanted to talk about this on there, Did You Know? But this kind of fits our deal, and that's why I don't have all of it in front of me. But it's an interesting story about a guy in Nashville that would not sell out. And I don't think he ever become anything after that, but had an opportunity, and said the guy came to him one time. It makes you wonder, some of these guys that are not that talented, that have everything going for them, and guys that are, you know, there are a million people out there that are as talented as a star that never makes it.
No, 100%.
And it's just what it takes to get that one break in your life. You know, you know how the mob used to control the radio stations? Did you know these stories? They would take a singer, and there's a gentleman, and of course I'm not prepared for it right now. He was a big star, Van something or another in the 60s. He had a couple of big hits. I don't think it's Van Morrison, but it was someone to that degree of a singer, had a couple of big hits. But what happened was the mob found out about him. He was a guy like Boz Scaggs or somewhere that was from the tough streets of Jersey or somewhere. And the mob backed him and gave him some money. Well, what they did was they went and bought 100 radio stations all across the country, and all they did was play his music all the time. So it's made his songs go to number one. And when he pissed them off, guess what they did? They cut him off. That was it. You know, it's not you, it's us. We're playing your music, and made you a star. Did you find out who it is?
I'm looking.
But it's a mob guy.
That's what labels do.
What now?
That's what record labels do. 100%.
Yes.
Oh, really?
It was the same deal. But this was in the 60s when that was all on. It was the same premises, though. And I think that they were a record company. I think they were recording him on their song or on their album also. But they also bought the radio. Or I'll tell you what, I lied. They did not own the radio stations. They threatened the disc jockeys. Mm-hmm. You play this, we're going to break your damn thumbs.
But that's how, I mean, that's what, like you said, though, that's just a record label, right?
And that's literally what, for example, if Don't California My Carolina was pushed, which obviously radio never play that, but take radio out of it, take every streaming entity, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, it's all the same at this point, it's as far as this analogy goes. If somebody was able to make a phone call or put a check on somebody's desk or threaten to break their thumbs, I guarantee you that it would absolutely, it may not be number one, but it would skyrocket.
Yeah.
So it's all product placement. And like William Michael Morgan is a good example of that. And I don't know him. I like his music a lot. Man, he was coming up quick in like 2016, 17. You would know some of the songs if you heard them. And to my knowledge, he got into it with his record label and was like, I'm out. And then if you want to look at listeners like on Spotify, man, his stuff has plummeted. He dropped a record recently, and it's great. But without that machine behind you, so that's the catch-22 of what I do for a living. And a lot of people ask, do you want to be Luke Bryan or do you want to be Sturgill Simpson?
Right.
So in other words, mainstream or independent. And the answer to that is I want to be both, obviously. But I think you've got to be so good it's undeniable. And the one thing, like you said, there are so many people who are talented. Talent's the number one given thing. It's all about who you know, how much that you got behind it to an extent, but who you know, and unfortunately, you can't help the timing.
Right.
So you just got to go with your gut on it. And I don't have a record label. I own literally everything at Beam Country, but I do feel like at some point in time we'll run into that right person who will be able. We have all the push from the bottom right now. We need to pull from the top.
Can you play both sides though? Like, is that even possible?
I think that given the right timing and the right network, yes, because of today's world, because of everything we just talked about.
Right.
And look at Oliver Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that guy either, but I think he was a shot out of a cannon so fast. He never had anything in place as far as the PR stuff goes, the profile, the stage presence, whatever it may be. And if you take somebody who's been doing this for a while that has a little bit of experience in that, I feel like you could absolutely have independent success, write the songs and touch people, and not in a Diddy way, and then take that to the top. But it's all about who you got behind you.
That Oliver Anthony thing's a weird deal, right? Like now he turned down a lot of money. He wanted to, I guess stay true to who he was, but like now, is he even doing anything anymore? I mean, is he even writing music? Like, I wonder if he missed it.
I don't know. I saw him pop up the other day at a show at Raised Rowdy, and chances are, man, he probably, if he has a good financial advisor, he's probably sitting pretty for forever off that one. But there's a lot to obviously being a full-time artist. I can only imagine what it's like when you're on I would actually chance to say it's probably easier when you're not doing everything yourself. Mm-hmm. When you can just go out there and play. But yeah, I don't know, man. And that's the beauty in one sense of this line of work. It's the hardest line of work in the world, I think, any entertainment is. But at any point in time, it can come right back. Mm-hmm. It's one song. It takes one something to happen. And I think I don't know where he's at. I mean, I applaud any kind of success, whether it's somebody who's 18 and had the right contact and signed a big record deal and now they're Morgan Wallen. I applaud that. Or somebody that made a viral video. I think everybody's got their story for sure.
Yeah, Oliver Anthony, that's kind of a tough thing to duplicate, right? Like, you put out one song and it's a mega hit, and then like anything below that is considered a failure almost. Like, you shot a 180 class buck your first morning out, your first sit on the stand. Like, what the fuck? Where do you go from here?
Well, and I don't know that has he put out anything yet?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
but obviously he didn't expect for it to take off like he did. Otherwise, you would have had the back end taken care of. You would have had some sort of a music catalog out there. Like, this happened just by pure happenstance. The universe was on his side. The algorithm was on his side, and it blew up. So he had none of the back end taken care of. Right. And it's just like, it's such a fucking flash. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're not ready to capitalize on it, the world just moves past you.
I think him and the
Same
Hot
as the Hot
Tui
Tour
girl. Same one. They passed their deal. That band a minute ago was Tommy James and the Shondells. They sang I Think We're Alone Now, which was also a #1 hit by Tiffany. They had a song Money Money that was brung out by Billy Idol, had as a big hit. They had a song Hanky Panky. And they did Crimson and Clover, which is a great, great, great tune back in the drug days of the late 60s. But they were owned by the mob. There's a book called Me, the Mob, and the Music, One Hell of a Ride with Tommy James and the Shondells. It's on Amazon, but it's a hell of a story. But it talks about how everything can be manipulated at that time. I mean, Jesus Christ, Elvis Presley was having to go to record stores and sell records when he first started.
Mm-hmm. And nothing's changed all the way from the 50s and 60s, and now really the vehicle might be different. But at the end of the day, if you're a nobody and you don't have anything that's taken off, and in today's world would be viral, you don't have a viral video, then any outfit that's worth a dang is not usually going to come after you. It's when obviously you have something big, and then you'll have all sorts of options to choose from. And then on top of that, I do find it funny that a lot of artists, and I get this to an extent, but a lot of artists complain about, well, I don't have my publishing rights, or I'm trying to get out of this, or I don't own my music. Well, if it wasn't for that initial contract you had, you would be still trying to sell your music to somebody because you would be nobody. Yeah. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. I think you just got to surround yourself with the right outfit. And I mean, that's a life-changing thing. And fortunately enough, I feel like I've dodged two of them so far, for whatever reason. But again, I obviously don't have I'm not one of those Spotify artists to look out for at the moment. We got a Hellacious catalog at some point it's going to hit.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same as like NWA. Everybody says they signed a raw deal or whatever it is. It's like, well, yeah, but he took a chance on. They could have easily not have made it and just been, was it four of them, four guys from the hood that never made it, but for whatever reason, he's the reason that they got to where they were. And obviously their music was good enough. It stood the test of time. But had they not had somebody take a chance on them, they would have just been four more rappers from the hood of Compton that never, did anything.
Yep. We just had World War III just started, guys.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Iran just shot missiles all into Israel.
Oh.
That's not going to be good.
You don't think so?
No, it's going to, gas prices are going to go up. Everything's going to go the hell up. there's not.
But did you already see where the port went on strike today?
That's going on. You got that's
obviously way worse, but that's just to add to it.
No, but with the poor people in North Carolina, I can't pray enough. I feel so sorry for those people. North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, where all that flooding. Prayers to those people. Got Iran is now shooting missiles into Israel. I hope Israel wipes the shit out of them son of a bitches. I do. Knock some carpet needlers back to 1400s. But that's what and hey, I'm saying the same thing most Americans are thinking, and this is just not good. Our world is upside down right now. But
the scary part is when that happens, do we even have a fighting chance? Because it's all nukes at that point.
Israel's got a nuke, and if anybody's going to use them, it's going to be them. And if they turn Baghdad into glass overnight, I've always said the solution is to give all them Muslims a nuclear weapon that shoots 3 miles, and they'll just blow the shit out of each other, and they'll all be gone in about 2 weeks.
I heard a guy recently. He was on the Sean Ryan show. He was the sheriff of Baghdad, and he said one of the worst things we did was when we got rid of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, it's
like he was a bad guy, but he was
stable.
It was stable over there.
Muammar Gaddafi, same way.
When we got rid of him, that's when everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Yep. One dictator, Cuba, same way, I guess, which they're not having a lot of problems, I don't think. But when you got one guy that rules with the iron fist, he may be evil, but at least you can kind of control him a little bit.
Right.
And it controls everything. It's kind of like the drug cartels do in these towns, these resort towns they control. They're scared to death of the big El Guapo, the boss. They don't fuck with nobody. But you get him out and you got 4 different entities, and then everybody's dying. So there's a lot of truth to that. I've got a girl that works for us. I was between podcasts. I was in the other room a minute ago in the dining hall, and she's got a friend of hers that lives in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. Said people are fighting over toilet paper in the grocery stores now. People are panicking, buying.
Right.
What is
it with COVID all
What
over
is
again?
It with fucking shit paper? I had COVID. I never had the shits the whole time, but everybody bought all the toilet paper in the world. So now we're worried about the docks, and everybody's worried about they're going to shit on themselves.
I guess.
Well, when we're worried, that tells you right there the luxury versus necessity.
Yes, right.
Don't get me wrong, I love some Charmin, son, but if I have an issue, then I'm sure I can go break into a Goodwill and find plenty of T-shirts cut up into rags if it gets that bad.
Yeah, I'm not wiping my ass is not a problem at all. That's not something I'm worried about. I'm worried about eating. Wouldn't
you figure people are still working their way through the COVID stashes that they had? They got they got closets full of toilet paper. Like, surely they still got some of that left, right? We're going to just do this again.
What scares me around here is we had built up a big stash of paper products, not just toilet paper, but cups, bowls, napkins, everything. I bought them all summer and we got a Connex I just kept filling shit up with. Well, guess what? The last 18 months I haven't really worried about it. I was like, oh, we got plenty. We'll just use the stuff we've got. Now I'm going to have to be doing the same shit again for this hunting season.
Yeah, because we got guys that need shit paper. We got 9 rooms here.
I'm assuming most paper products are made in America. I don't think we're shipping in paper cups and plates but plywood, most all plywood in the United States is made offshore on big ships. They take the lumber offshore, they build the plywood, and then they ship the plywood back in. Because it's cheaper to have all that slave Chinese labor on those boats. Building these big boats are where they make a lot of plywood at. That's plywood factories.
Well, and I guarantee you, your neck of the woods that just went through this hurricane, there's probably not a whole lot I bet plywood took a hit with people preparing.
Yeah.
In Georgetown, we have a paper mill actually that makes pulp. It takes in pulp, so it's actually toilet paper and paper towels and stuff here in Georgetown. But yeah, I guarantee I thought the same thing, man. Not only that, but the economy in Western North Carolina, whether it's timber or whatever else have you. Hell, there's a lot of furniture from that area, and not that's a necessity, but obviously that's a lucrative business for especially like the Hickory area. But yeah, I mean, it's wild, man. I did not know plywood was made offshore.
A lot of it is. I'm sure that there's probably some places they make them in factories here, but a lot of that stuff is built the same with a lot of canned fish and stuff. Like they've got these big ships off the coast of California and the East Coast and West Coast, and it's a factory, and they do all that shit right there on that boat, and then they ship the products back into the United States. Well, plywood's the same way. They put them on a lot of container ships. I'm sure there's some places in the U.S. that they actually make plywood. I don't know where, but they do. But there's a lot of different things that we use or parts that they don't make the whole product, but they make the parts overseas and they ship them over here. They said car parts. They said if this thing is down for 10 days, you won't be able to get your car fixed nowhere.
I believe it. Hell, my truck just broke down. Brand new truck, 25,000 miles in 5 months. The fuel pump module went out last week on the way to a 5-day in a row run. And apparently that is a very common thing right now with GM vehicles. I just got lucky. Mine went in a limp mode, didn't cut off going down the interstate. But can you imagine? I mean, I got fortunate. I looked online. It was a backorder product anyway. And that just goes to show you the reliance on computer crap. But I really feel like with this port being down, I like you said, I really feel for everybody who's going through the disaster right now, because I mean the timing of that is really, really ill planned as far as the union is concerned. But unfortunately, a lot of us are going. I mean, we already know it, but a lot of people who don't are going to realize just how reliant the U.S. is on importing stuff.
Yeah, and it's not just the dock workers, truckers.
No.
How many trucks a day are picking up? Those people ain't going to have any work to do. There's no. I mean, this is going to be, and that's what scares me about the one guy who made this decision. Or I don't know that he made the decision, but he's the head of the union, and usually, which means they're in the pockets of the DNC and owned by the Democrats. But there's got to be a solution. We need to do it fast. And like someone said, Trump doesn't want to, or Biden doesn't want to fix it because it looks like he's caving to the unions if he fixes it. And then if it doesn't, then it's not caving to the American people. But it's going to be a big lasting effect. I've got my rack and pinion, something went out on my pickup, my tornado chasing truck in April. I was chasing storms up by Amarillo. I drove home without power steering. Let me tell you something. I grew up driving without power steering. It was a lot easier in them old trucks. These new trucks at 70 miles an hour down the highway, not a problem at all. But you pull into a freaking convenience store at 5 miles an hour, felt like I'd been working out with a fat chick all night. God, my shoulders hurt so bad. But
yeah,
still have not got a part for it. They finally found me one, but it's taken forever. Well, every plastic piece on a car, if you have a crash, I think all that shit comes from Taiwan or somewhere. There ain't gonna be none of that to be had. It's gonna shut down body shops. I mean, everywhere. There's gonna be a lot. This is gonna be a major deal if they don't get this fixed. I assume probably they'll have it fixed about a week before the election, and it'll be all Kamala that fixed it, and she went and did everything to try to make her look good.
I just hope that everybody realizes by that point that we have to become more independent. So hopefully it goes in the favor of the right. Clearly,
you would hope so, but I don't know. So back to your Don't California My Carolina. How long did that one take to write? You said strings took 5 minutes.
Don't California My Carolina probably took maybe an hour in the studio.
Oh,
so it wasn't too bad. I kind of had the melody automatically, and my buddy Don has never written a song before. He's an English major, but we were in there in the studio, and Joe's a hellacious songwriter in his own right. He's got a jazz album out right now. He's a phenomenal guitar player, but Joe Taylor is his name. But we got there in the studio and had a bottle of bourbon, and I actually just got a new pedal at that time for my Telecaster. So I was messing around with that, and it just came together pretty effortlessly. And Don sat there after we wrote it, and he said, "Man, this is what y'all do as songwriters. You sit around, drink bourbon, and put together ideas." I said, "Pretty much." Add that to his resume. He went to law school during COVID, and then American Airlines called him back and was like, "We need a senior pilot." So now he's flying again for American. So he's my pilot, lawyer, chart topping hit songwriter. Definitely got to get it out there. I am, in one sense, I'm glad the song's out. All the promo stuff we put out. So if you go on my Instagram, I've made a video with Joe Rogan, Trump, Sean Ryan, and myself on there dancing to it. More shares, more likes, and not that it's huge. I mean, I only got like 5,500 followers or whatever, but I mean, a lot of that is because nothing ever gets out. There's people that call me all the time. They're like, "Man, I didn't know you played in such and such last week." And I'm like, "Well, I only posted about it 4 days a week." So, but that's all. I really think the industry believes we have a team behind us, and we don't. But yeah, man. So now that it's out, just spread the living heck out of it. There's T-shirts for sale online right now. I've been selling the heck out of T-shirts. Got the bumper stickers, and there's hats coming.
Is Strings the song that just came to you the quickest and was just bam, 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 stars aligned and just pumped it out? Is that the one?
That was my pissed off COVID song. So it doesn't come across that way, but if you listen to it, you'll get it now that I tell you that. So I had about a year and a half to think about that one when I wasn't consciously thinking about it. And I always said, man, if I ever get to play shows again, I will play this guitar till the strings come off and the lights go out. And then I sat on a dock with a cup of coffee and wrote that one. But Younger Man's probably, that one came out before Strings. Check out Younger Man. And all these have dropped since we've spoken. I think Country Songs come out, Younger Man, Strings, and I feel like there's one more I'm missing. Obviously this one. But Younger Man took a little while to write. But some of them take a long time. I mean, I'll write some songs, and I think we talked about this before, is that some of them are 5 minutes, some of them take a year and a half. I just haven't sat down to do it. But in Nashville, I've been there writing more. We usually have at least 2 or 3 guys on the song, and it comes together pretty quick. We've got a bunch of good stuff there that I don't know if I will ever play it or cut it, but that's kind of my other plan, is to get my pen in everything that I possibly can as far as a business standpoint to diversify. But the next one we got coming out is called Mexican Bar, and it is a duck hunting song. It's a duck trip song. And that one is about my buddy with Foundation Retrievers, Oliver Berman. He went out with a buddy of his to Oklahoma. They overnighted in Mississippi. The only thing in that town in Mississippi was a hotel and a Mexican restaurant. And they drank that bar completely out of frosted mugs. So they were pouring draft beer into margarita glasses. When we got off the phone, I had Drunk at a Mexican Bar in my head, because it hits different when you go out and you're drinking margaritas in a Mexican restaurant. You got chips and queso, and it paints a great picture. Well, I forgot about that. I wrote it down, and I actually wrote the song before we wrote "Don't California My Carolina." Joe and I wrote the song sitting by a campfire in Bennett's Point back in January, and it's probably the dumbest song I've ever written, but it has hit fans. It's very catchy, and those that duck hunt will love it. And you'll see what I mean when it drops. It's probably going to drop, I would think, the end of next month, 1st of November, in time for duck season. If you don't duck hunt, then everybody just likes saying Drunken Mexican Bar. Yeah, Don't California My Carolina, though, man, it's one of those things that I think that now that it's out, it's just going to take some time for people to find it and for word to get out. But, man, y'all just spread the word on that one. Have me on here helps out tremendously. And I'm gonna put bumper stickers up at every gas station. If we don't have any gas at them soon, it's not gonna matter. But every gas station possibly can, just to advertise.
Yeah. I mean, just right in time for duck season. Do you just write everything down that comes to you? Just as soon as it comes to you, get it on a piece of paper. That way you don't lose it.
I get made fun of for my notepad in Nashville, and I'm fortunate enough that I wrote with Rob Crosby, who's an older guy. He wrote "Concrete Angel" for Martina McBride. We wrote together 2 weeks ago with Philip Lammons, and they both had notepads. And I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
So I'm on my crew here, but I'll write it in my phone a lot, and I need to honestly go back and look at my notes. Between my notes and my voice memos, because voice memos, I won't even have a lyric written down. I'll just hum a melody into the song. Melody of the song into my phone. And then a lot of times I'll have ideas written. I got a list of titles, just hooks that I haven't really written yet.
Yeah. And then do you like writing with other people? Like, do you try to write? Do you try to get in a room with other people to help these ideas come forward, or do you like writing by yourself?
Recently, I've enjoyed putting a room together to see kind of where it goes. So we just wrote a song, and I had this idea for a while called Double First Cousins Twice Removed. And obviously, when you have a title like that, I would like to preface that by saying they are not related, and that took a little while to figure that one out. So writing a song like that, you know it's going to be comical, how it's going to be taken, but you need to write it with enough wit to where you get the point across, to where it's not just, cousin effing country. And so I put my buddy Justin Addis and my other buddy Taylor Engel on that. So having us three together, I knew those were the two right guys to do it, and we wrote it. Boom. So that one's not out yet. We might cut that. I think there's a teaser on the Instagram. But then on the flip side of that, looking towards a more serious song, I have enjoyed the last couple of months doing that. And it's interesting how the rooms change, which makes sense. I mean, it's no different than anything else you do business-wise. You have to have the right people turning the right wrenches.
Yeah. Do you always want to have, I mean, obviously it would make more financial sense for artists to be in the writing room, right? I think we talked about that. Like, it's just, if you can get your name on a song and perform it, the money is twice or whatever it is.
And that's a numbers game. It depends on who you write with, who pitches it, whatever happens with it. But the more times you do that, and I'm all about at this point, because nobody really knows what's going to make it nowadays, how things make it. There's a lot of people who speculate and tell you what you need to do, but honestly, nobody really knows. So at this point, the name of my game is name saturation. I don't know if it's hats, t-shirts, in a song, any kind of whatever you can put the name on to where it's either A, recognized, or two, has credit. And I was fortunate enough 2 weeks ago now, I got asked we're sponsored by Michelob Ultra. I got asked by Ultra to play in a golf tournament down at Hilton Head. What I didn't realize was that is a BMI songwriter festival. So, and I'm talking like heavy hitters. The guy that wrote Friends in Low Places was there, and like 40 others. Well, when I wrote with Rob Crosby in Nashville the week before that, I found out he was going to Hilton Head the next week. And I was like, well, dang, I'll be down there for this golf tournament. And it was Low Cash was putting it on. And I really enjoyed talking to those guys too. I opened up for them. The promoter called me and was like, man, we looked your stuff up, didn't realize you were an artist. And the guys from Michelob Ultra couldn't make it. That's how we got roped into it. So go there, open up for Low Cash. Ended up meeting networking wise was an incredible event. It's Tunnel to Towers is the nonprofit there as well. And we ended up winning the golf tournament, which is cool. And then I played that night. So Trent Tomlinson couldn't make it. He got laryngitis or something. So I got to fill in with him. Well, I was on stage with two of my songwriting heroes, man. I mean, they were written for Billy Currington. They had one guy wrote Waiting on a Woman for Brad Paisley. But just sitting there, that's how Country Boys roll. Was another one Brett wrote. Sitting there on stage was just like, what in the world? And then they liked what I wrote. So like that, I feel like that's how it happens. But just talking to those guys, man, not on stage. I got to play golf with Brett and Matt Warren the next day. He wrote two big songs for Gary Allen. If you look these guys up, man, they just Brett Jones, Matt Warren. I mean, they've written a ton of stuff. I got to play golf with them the next morning, and they're just like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, you hear all the stories about where somebody writes a song 3 years ago and then it gets pitched to this artist and then it takes off. Oh. I mean, that's a Nashville thing. I don't consider myself a Nashville guy. I record in Nashville, so I'm a Nashville recording artist, but I just want to cover ground, me personally. But I do feel like, I love songwriting. I would consider myself more a songwriter than an artist, but I make my living as an artist. So I think it's just diversifying. I think today's world, you got to do that. And if you're an artist out there or want to be, take this from a nobody countrypreneur. But I do feel like that in today's world, because A, the pendulum's swinging, but two, there's not as much money to be made in one single spot, that you have to basically be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
We lost a great songwriter yesterday.
Who?
Chris Christopherson died.
Oh.
Yep.
What all did he write?
Had a little song called Bobby McGee. You ever heard of that? But what's funny about that was he wrote that for Roger Miller, and he was dating Janis Joplin off and on, and she recorded it, and they didn't release it. That she sang it until after she had passed away, and went on to be a #1 hot song. For the Good Times by Ray Price, which I think is one of the greatest country songs ever. He wrote that. He's a very successful guy. He was an interesting guy. He was Born in Texas, grew up in California. His dad was a military guy. Went to college, become a Rhodes Scholar. After Rhodes Scholar, become a helicopter pilot in the Army. Was sweeping floors at Columbia Records and saw June Cash and gave her a tape to listen for Johnny to listen to, and Johnny didn't listen to it, so he took a helicopter and landed it in his backyard and gave him a handful of songs and said, "Hey," got his attention and become part of it. I thought he was a terrible singer. He was a very good songwriter. He was a decent actor. He was in the original Star is Born, but was not a very good singer. I didn't think. Do you think he was a very good singer? I think he's like Willie Nelson's not a good singer either, but he's Willie Nelson.
Well, and a lot of songwriters are not the best singers, and that's just historical. And that's the other thing that all these songwriters last week were encouraging me to do, which I'm already there because I'm in it to find that balance between doing what you want to do and making money. And they were all like, man, as an artist, just do not be afraid to cut something that your name is not on. Alan Jackson was the same way. He's like, man, absolutely. Why would I not cut a number one song? But I would have to agree with you. I mean, he falls in that category of absolutely genius songwriter. I mean, dude, he doesn't do too bad singing while he's on the highway, man.
I love that song. I did not realize this until recently. They redid that for Highway Women.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Highway Women. Just don't touch. There's certain songs you just shouldn't muck with. And I feel like Highwaymen's one of them.
I agree. And then have you heard the second part to it? Is it American Heroes? Am I misquoting that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Rivers Rutherford wrote that one, and I played golf with Rivers not too long ago. Man, you talk about a cool guy there too.
That's one of the greatest songs ever.
What?
The Highwayman.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a great. I mean, but you put those guys together, why would they not be? I mean, we're talking about some classic singers. I'll tell you a good example of your songwriter. If Dean Dillon can sing, and I have no idea if Dean Dillon can sing or not, but if he could sing, he's passed up billions of dollars in his career, the stuff he's given away. But has to be the greatest songwriter ever.
American Remains is the one I'm thinking of with the Highwaymen, but Rivers Rutherford wrote that. He's gonna kill me for misquoting that title, but check that one out. But yeah, I'm with you, man. It's awful. I didn't realize that Christopherson also went through Ranger school.
Yes, he was a Ranger. He was a very smart. You know that guy that that's so smart, but he's a fuck up, and everybody's just like, man, if he'd ever get his shit together, no telling. He was so good at everything and uber talented that it didn't matter. But just probably one of those guys that everybody liked, that fit in, but could do anything you did.
He seems very much hippie-ish.
Oh yeah, he dated Janis Joplin.
Like got the like the Jesus shirt, I call it.
Yeah, that was that way back then. I mean, he fit in with those guys.
Kind of got the Jesus look a little bit from back in the 70s. Looks like he could have been a part of the Manson clan, if I'm being honest with you. But I think everybody in the 70s probably looked like they could.
He's pretty jacked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's all chiseled up. Yeah. Good looking guy, but
I'm surprised he didn't write this, but one of the songs I remember when I was in like middle school was Big and Rich put out a song called 8th of November.
Mm-hmm.
And check it out, but Christopherson's reading a passage in the beginning of it, and I really thought he wrote that song. I looked up last night, he did not, but he's got a cameo in the music video, the 8th of November by Big and Rich.
8th of November.
He also wrote another big song, and I cannot think of what the hell it was. Here it is right here.
I just had all of his hits. I didn't recognize any of them other than...
I thought he wrote... No, I'm thinking of Bob Dylan wrote, what's the song that Darius Rucker did, that Wagon Wheel? Yeah. Yeah, that was, Bob Dylan wrote that.
Oh. Yeah, I'm looking at Chris Christopherson's To Beat the Devil, Me and Bobby McGee, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Darby's Castle, For the Good Times, Sunday Morning Coming Down, Silver Tongue Devil and I don't recognize any of these. Jody and the Kid, Loving Her Was Easier Than Anything I'll Ever Do Again.
That was a big hit.
The Pilgrim, Chapter 33. Jesus Was a Capricorn. Why Me? Who's to Bless and Who's to Blame? The Stranger? Was Stranger a big one? I feel like I've heard that one.
Well,
you show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Did he write Star is Born with him and Barbra Streisand? Did he write that also?
I don't know about that. I thought he had a pen in a lot of the like Merle, Waylon, like that or he cut a lot of the same songs. That's the one cool thing about Spotify. You can look at how many like a Willie Nelson song that you know to be Willie and find out that Merle, Waylon, and Christopherson all cut it.
Right.
Probably goes back to a common misconception is like, oh man, you don't want Andy singing one of your songs, Beam. And I'm like, well, actually, I do. I want everybody that's out there singing my stuff because it's just more money out there when one hits, obviously, especially if they wrote it, then they're gonna make more money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's. Did it say how he died? I didn't look that up.
Just old.
He was 88.
Yeah, he was old. He that's
Willie Nelson's gonna outlive them all.
He did.
He's the last one.
He's the last one of the Highwayman.
He made it. He made it.
And my least favorite.
He probably smoked the most dope, and that's the secret to a long life, I guess.
Yeah. If they embalm his ass, it'd be all right. But if they put him in a crematory, they better fucking evacuate about 6 blocks away from that damn place.
Yeah, contact eyes.
Woo, going to drive everybody crazy. I did not know that A Star Is Born. That was Chris Christopherson, Barbra Streisand, was a huge hit in 1976. I remember when I was a kid when it was a hit. I did not realize that was a remake of a movie made in the 30s. That movie's been made 3 different times. Whoever wrote that probably doesn't get any money of it, but whoever wrote it, can you imagine you wrote a movie that they made in the 30s for the first time, and it's Lady Gaga and made a ton of money off of it when it was out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a good song too, though. I think her and Bradley Cooper.
Probably so.
I don't know who wrote it.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper and Lucas Nelson. I'm almost positive Lucas Nelson, who is Willie's son, wrote a lot of the stuff for that soundtrack. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've got movies mixed up. I think he wrote a lot of that.
Now I'm trying to think of the name of it so I can look it up. Shallows.
Shallow, yeah.
Who wrote Shallows?
Have I ever heard that song?
Yeah, it was everywhere whenever A Star Is Born came out with Lady Gaga, it was everywhere.
Bradley Cooper learned how to play guitar and sing just for that movie, which is pretty impressive.
He's an impressive actor.
Mm-hmm.
He really is.
Sober as a judge, too. Who wrote...
He doesn't drink?
Got sober when he was in his late 20s, I think.
So he used to drink too much?
Yeah, he was one of those.
All right. So like if I'm sober, it's just because I don't drink that much. But
he's
one of those sobers that when you mention you're sober, it's because you had a problem. You liked it too much.
Mm-hmm. Lady Gaga was very much involved in the Shallows creation, both performing it alongside Bradley Cooper and co-writing it. It was produced by Gaga and Benjamin Rice.
What's the best movie he's been in?
The Hangover.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
He's funny in...
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers.
God, he's good. In that. I mean, he wears Vince Vaughn's ass. That's one of the best shows ever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand why we can't make movies like that anymore. I just seen that the millennials now are raising hell and pissed off. They think Seinfeld is offensive.
Okay, songwriters. Hold on, before we go to that. Lady Gaga, Andrew Wyatt, Anthony Rosmando, and Mark Ronson.
Yeah, I thought she'd written that one.
More money for Lady Gaga.
Speaking of money and songwriting, there's no money. Y'all kind of get held hostage by iTunes and Spotify, right?
Big time. That's a huge topic right now in the songwriting realm.
I mean, they control it because if you don't agree to their terms, like, fuck it, we just won't put you on our stuff then, right?
Even worse than that. So you have like performance royalties in today's world, and you technically have songwriting royalties. Now, this is not radio. This is streaming platforms. So if us three write a song right now, and I'm the one that owns the master, meaning I'm the one that uploads it through my distribution, and my name's on the performance part, I get a check, even though it's not much. I get a check as an artist for as many times as that song is spun. Technically, there is a writer's royalty that gets divided, but it is less than half a penny per play.
So,
and here's the big thing that people are running into, and this is what you got to think, man. Like, I'm fortunate the last month and a half, I've got to hang out with some insane, hard-hitting songwriters, man. And these guys obviously made really good money back when CDs were being bought. And when radio's not dead, but radio's just changed, obviously. But that was where they were coming from. And their biggest thing now is, one of them told me, he said, man, my publisher now is putting me in a room with, name this upcoming TikTok artist, we write a song, they have no intention of pushing it to radio. But somehow, and I don't know how this happens, but obviously there's people making money off TikTok and YouTube and so all the socials. I haven't figured that one out at all. You obviously have to have views. But that person is getting that money.
Mm.
So the songwriter was like, dude, screw that. Like, I'd rather, why am I writing them in the first place? Because he's not an artist. He's strictly a songwriter. He's like, man, I could be playing golf right now. So now I will say this as a business owner. If us three right now write a song and it takes off, then the right thing to do as an artist, which most artists don't think like this, I can see where that money's coming from, man. I can pull my distribution royalties. And if it makes, call it $9,000, then if we all three wrote it, then I would 1099 y'all two and write the check. And that's what I can't figure out. Everybody I've talked to in Nashville is really disgruntled about this, but I'm like, man, how can y'all not, like, so say that us three wrote a song and somebody else cut it that didn't even have a freaking pen in it, then they're making all that money.
Right.
So technically, there's supposed to be royalty collection, but we're at the point now where the amount of money is so small, and that's why you're seeing 32 billion streams on a song. The industry, that's why playlisting is so important. That's why when Don't California My Carolina didn't get playlisted, is a big deal, because those spins do matter. They add up, and spins equate to more spins. But you can't tell me people aren't putting bots on this and they're not writing programs to play your stuff. Hell, we could go to Best Buy and buy 6 iPods and get the family Spotify plan and stream my stuff 24/7, and don't believe that people are not doing that.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really a conundrum right now. I don't know. Back to the whole diversifying. The only way I really make my living is when I have my guitar in my hand on stage.
That's where the money comes from.
It is. That's how I make my 100% minus merch sales, which I've got an online store that generally, if I have my guy that can sell merch at shows, we crush it. I can't sell and sing, and if it's not in front of somebody's face, it's very difficult to push traffic to a website, because then you fall into, oh, well, now you're in the T-shirt side of sales. So you see how much apparel comes across social media. So for us, they have to get looking for it, which is why this shirt, the Don't California My Carolina shirt, has been very successful, is because it's something different. People can't, they hear about it and then they go on the link.
So, I mean, if you take out people doing the right thing and, like you said, just cutting the co-writers a check, like how does this situation get solved?
That's a good question. I honestly do not know the answer to it. There's people talking about this all the time. Other than that's the way to solve it. And by the way, I don't know of anybody doing what I just mentioned. Honestly, and because a lot of people are going, well, I played it, I deserve it, whatever. So they're taking that money, and the writers aren't ever seeing anything. So I want my group. So if anybody's listening out there, it's a big time songwriter. Like, I want my group, because that's the only way we're going to make it. Is it's not going to be one person. Like, you need a solid team to know that, like, if you're in this thing, man, we got each other.
Right. Has that flipped? I mean, probably more about from a long time ago. I mean, it was the songwriters making the money then, wasn't it?
Yeah, my dad played music and played with a lot of people back in the day. He traveled, a lot of big time stars and a lot of no names, but he used to talk about if you can write just one hit, your set, or if you can get your record put on, like a buddy of his wrote a song for Nancy Sinatra was on her big album she ever had. Well, this guy made tons of money, or this lady did, over that. Her husband wrote a song that was on George Harrison's last album that he did. And so just being on there, if you're one of the 10 songs on there, you get the same thing as the big star gets. I mean, whatever on the album sales. So like if, we'll say the Cocktail soundtrack, because that's what I was looking at. I thought it was on there. That song, Kokomo by the Beach Boys was on that deal. Well, if you were the 10th song on there and nobody who knew the hell you were, Oh, I Love You So by Preston Smith, I have no idea what that is. You still got the same check them other people get when that album got sold. And you could make a lot of money. Like Dean Dillon, how much money did he make off Tennessee whiskey?
Still making money. And that's the thing. So what I just explained to y'all was streaming.
Yeah.
Radio is a different animal, and radio it requires a much bigger yearly budget. Like, number ones are bought 100%. Back to the whole mob mentality. But take that out of it. I think every time a song gets played on radio now, I think it's like 13 cents per play. So it doesn't sound like a lot. And then so you say there's 2 riders on that. Well, when that song makes $2, obviously those dollars get split between the 2 riders. Each one of those dollars gets split between the songwriter and the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
You own your own publishing like I do, then you're taking that whole dollar.
Right.
If you don't, then you're taking 50 cents. Having said that, think about a radio rotation across all the radio stations in the U.S. It adds up. And then if you have a publishing house pushing other songs to bigger artists, I mean, look up Jeffrey Steele, man. That guy has got a pen in so much stuff. You would love him, by the way. He does Monday nights in America at the local in Nashville. I still haven't gotten to meet him, but he is a huge, huge Trump supporter. He's got a really crazy, tragic kind of story. If you look him up, he talks about that. But, man, he has written a ton of stuff. So that is the beauty of being a songwriter. He can also sing his tail off. So, yes, the money historically when it came to radio was in songwriting. It still is, and I still think it only takes one, because then you have that name, you have the reputation. People are going to want to write with you, and then somebody's going to want to pick you up.
You said 13 cents on the radio.
From my understanding, I think that's right. And again, don't quote me on that, but you use that as an example. It's significantly more than half a penny per play.
But just look at I don't know what it was during the heyday, but back in, let's say the 80s, when Michael Jackson had Thriller out, he had 4 songs, I think, in the top 100 at one time, probably.
Right.
Maybe all 6 of them. I mean, they were all big hits, and they were getting played all the time because people still listened to the radio then. And even if he was only getting 1 cent every time it was played nationwide or worldwide, that's a lot of pennies added up in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because
a lot of pennies. And the way that's collected is through like a collection agency like BMI or ASCAP. So the one that I was just at festival-wise was the BMI festival. Well, I'm registered as a songwriter and a publisher with BMI. So every single song I write that gets cut, I go on there and I basically input it so that when it gets played wherever, then in theory, all the money comes back to me. And I got a check for like, I don't know, $20, $25 or something from BMI. And I was like, where'd this come from? And it's radio play. Dude, they play Wobble Saturday night in Kansas and in Scotland. They won't play in Charleston, South Carolina, where Wobble is located.
Right.
But by God, they're going to play in Scotland. So but that just goes to show you the difference. And then on the flip side of that, so that was 1 quarter. And I don't remember when that was, but it breaks it down for you. You can see it. But then on the flip side of that, my distribution is through an entity called DistroKid. So as an independent artist now, there's a couple different options you can use. A record label has their own distribution. That's the key because they can make the phone calls and make shit happen. But for basically this example, it collects the amount of plays and then gives me a check. So over the course of maybe a year, I might make $200 off of streaming.
Hey.
Maybe. I mean, but then I give that to, the songwriter.
Right.
So, because for me, I mean, I couldn't do it without them. I mean, I guess I could write songs, but I'm definitely not the best songwriter in the room. I'm just good at arranging the room, much like a Captain's Choice golf team. But I don't know what the answer is other than you've got to diversify and surround yourself with honest people.
You imagine a song like Ray Price's "For the Good Times," written by Chris Christopherson, the number 1 song in 1970, Song of the Year, when radio was probably as big as it has ever been. Can you imagine the checks in 1970 that he was getting for that?
And from album sales too. That's the whole other thing. The mechanical royalties. I obviously wasn't an artist when that happened, but my guitar player was. And he was like, dude, I mean, it was completely, he wrote a song for like Spot Tech or Spy something, like a series, like a movie series, television show series that still airs over in Europe. And he like walked out to his mailbox one day and was like, boom, 2 checks because publishing and songwriter. And, that doesn't happen anymore. But the other difference in that too, so if somebody went to buy that song, that one Christopherson song on that album, everybody else who had a song or a cut on that album benefited from that.
They get equal pay, don't they, on the album sales?
I would imagine so. I'm not familiar with it only because I haven't dealt with that, but I would imagine so. And then they're also more apt to listen to it. So then a song takes off popularity. Nowadays, new songs in country seem to drop every Friday. Is kind of the whole thing. Well, there's literally hundreds of new songs being dropped every single Friday. So all the algorithm does, it does the opposite. So in the 90s or the 70s, when you bought an album, it encouraged sales and popularity for everybody else involved in that project. Nowadays, your song taking off basically puts mine and whoever else is down at the bottom.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's a heck of a thing, man.
What a mess you got to keep up with every single day.
Yeah. So again, I think my whole mindset is just be so dang good, it's undeniable. Whether it's merchandise look, the songs, the performance on stage. I mean, that's obviously our bread and butter is live performance. Yeah. But at some point, I mean, I'm getting married in November, and I know the kids are going to be coming soon. So I'd rather have bigger shows and be gone with a bigger act. Opening up for somebody would definitely help us out on consistently. We've opened up for a bunch of people, but getting on a run would help out. That way I can be home for longer periods of time. And then once that gets elevated, in theory, you got mailbox money coming in too.
You said something on the last podcast, and I can't remember, I'm going to butcher your quote, but it was basically just brute force. And what was it? I think you said it today too.
Brute force and ignorance.
Brute force and ignorance solves a lot of problems. Just fucking keep.
Because we can talk about it all day long, man. But I don't know what the answer is because I can't even get a song out of Shadow Band. But at the same time, though, man, I do feel like it's better to build it solid than viral video happening, something crazy happening, and then nothing to back it up, and it's only down from there. So I mean, look at Whiskey Myers, man.
Yeah.
I remember listening to those cats when I was in high school. And I mean, I don't know how many years they've been together, but dude, I mean, just everything about that band solid.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there was another guy that just came, Steven Wilson Jr. I really like his music. Year to Be Young was written, I think that was like 2018. And then just 6 years later, or maybe it was 2020. Either way, 6 or 4 years later, it gets featured on Spotify, Artists to Watch or whatever, and bam, But he had the catalog to warrant it. He's got a lot of good songs that I really like. But it was that
he won the 2023 Country Album of the Year on Rolling Stone, and nobody knew who he was. And he just now, since y'all talked about it on the podcast, my buddy Mitch is the one that made his TikTok back in like 2018. Mm-hmm. And Mitch has a media firm in Nashville. I think it's M Squared. He loves that guy, and he literally, and this just goes to show you like what kind of guy Steven Wilson Jr. is. Mitch was like, dude, let me make a TikTok for you. He refused to for a while. Finally set him down, and he agreed to do it, and it took off. And he was like, look at this. And Steven Wilson Jr. apparently was like, so you're telling me people give a shit about my music? It's like, yeah, I think so. But now, I mean, it's taken this long. He's on tour now with Hardy, crushing it. I mean, the dude's, superstar, man, which is great. I love it stuff. It's so different. And like Holler from the Holler, hell, I work out to that song.
Yeah. But I mean, just goes to show you that, even though Don't California My Carolina, shadow band or whatever, like nothing's to say that in 3 years time or 2 years time, or, hopefully sooner than that, it catches on.
Yeah. Like 2 weeks, man. Hopefully 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Right. Yeah. We want that shit happening. But I mean, I love that song, Year to Be Young. And it's 6 years old at this point, right? So just getting in front of the right people. It's maddening. I know it is. And I'm sure there's days you want to pull your hair out, but beats being a game warden, I guess.
Oh, for sure. And writing, there's a lot to be said about writing timeless songs. Mm-hmm. And there's gimmicky songs, much like this one, which, I mean, this one, though, is still, it's timeless in and of itself. You listen to, I mean, nothing's changed in what the song has said for years. The timing of this one is what is perfect with, obviously, the election coming up and people are fed up. Sean Ryan actually talked about Don't California a lot of my stuff. I sent him an email before the song even dropped with the Dropbox link. Granted, they get thousands of emails, but I was like, dude, I just want you to know this song is out. I'm really working every political angle I can to get it in the hands of, say, Nancy Mace or Trump or whoever, man. That needs to be the walkout song. Like songs like Younger Man, though. Like, if you haven't listened to Younger Man, check it out. I mean, I think there is definitely an importance of, you can do projects like this that are a lot of fun, but I think that diversifying your song catalog is another key to it. So, I mean, I want in 20 years for people to be like, hey, I hope all these songs take off, but for people to go back and listen to it and be like, dude, that's everybody can feel it from 8 years old to 80 years old.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot on gimmicky songs too that we forget about. It. We just like I don't know what would you. It would be almost impossible to say the greatest song of all time because there's a lot of them, but some of them are timeless. But there's also some gimmick songs like what's Roger Miller's song about the bum going to and the box cars for sale or rent, rooms to rent, 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah. King of the Road.
Yeah, King of the Road. That song's gonna be. That's a gimmicky song, and that sucker will be around forever.
Dude, Achy Breaky Heart.
Oh, that's embarrassing, but yes, you're right. That is.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yes.
right. So I've had some people that are like, man, beware what you put out because you don't want people to, you know, that you don't want people to think you're throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, but two, just beware because of your brand. And I'm like, dude, I guess in my take on it is it's not that I'm just spitballing against the wall to see what sticks. It's that as a songwriter, you want to be able to write whatever mood you're in, whether it's a sad country song, whether it's something funny. I think there's a lot to be said about that as an artist catalog that you're like, dang, this guy wrote this, but he also turned around and wrote this. But you're right. And everybody always says, and I wouldn't know because I have no number ones yet, but they always say it's the one you least expect.
Right.
Well, Red Solo Cup.
A bar song by Shabuzi.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Shabuzi is.
You've heard Shabuzi. I'll play Shabuzi for you later.
That's okay.
But it's one of those things. It's just like that's the one that takes off, right?
It takes one, you know, regardless of what day and age we're in, man. It just takes that one thing to shift the spotlight just enough to where you get, you know, the next. I don't want to call it investor, but I would say piece of the puzzle.
What do you think's the greatest song ever written?
My favorite song is "This Cowboy's Hat" by Chris LeDoux.
That's a good one.
It's a good tune.
And I don't know why. I think I just love the song, man. We play it full band. Actually, we cover it.
What's your favorite?
And
What's yours, Andy?
I think I've said it before. I think I've said "Let Her Cry" by Hootie and the Blowfish.
It's a good one. Drops of Jupiter.
Drops of Jupiter's good.
yeah, it's a great
There's a
song.
bunch.
Did they ever do anything else?
Train? Yeah, they're huge. Or they were at the time.
So they had a lot of big hits.
I mean, they had that. They had Calling Angels. Wasn't that what it was? Let me look.
Yeah, All Angels.
They had Drops of Jupiter, Hey Soul Sister, Drive By, Play That Song, Meet Virginia. That was their first one. That was before Drops of Jupiter.
That's a banger.
50 Ways to Say Goodbye, Marry Me, Calling All Angels. Yeah, they had good ones.
I cleaned out my old Suburban about 10 years ago, and I found that Drops of Jupiter CD your mom bought me. I had 2 CDs in there. I had that, and I had Kenny Chesney's very first one.
Right.
Orange Ball.
That's another one.
How Forever Feels.
Yep, that was a great tune. What a great artist.
Lots of good music.
Yeah, for all about being able to connect to his audience. They said I read a book. I don't remember. It was either a book or a podcast. I think it was a book that was talking about when he was coming up. The way to basically predict artist trajectory was merch sales, and nobody believed, at least industry wise, nobody believed in Kenny Chesney. The only people who believed in Kenny Chesney was Kenny Chesney and his fans. And he opened up with a list of artists for George Strait somewhere in Texas. And they were talking about how he outsold everybody on the festival second to George Strait. And even that was close. But man, yeah, his old stuff's great.
He's the new Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
I would say that's the number one change he made that led to who he is. If you go back and listen to his early albums in like 94, I love the songs, but they sound like every other 90s country song out there, which I'm not a huge 90s country fan. But it's when he switched to that beach country vibe.
Amazing stuff. Really good. And Jimmy Buffett was one of my favorites too. And I like Kenny Chesney. I don't know who's going to be next. I don't listen to much new music anymore because I don't listen to the radio. I used to listen to the radio all the time. And I don't ever listen to the radio. I listen to podcasts, and that's whatever tickles my fancy for that day or something I'm interested in, that's what I listen to. And it's such a it varies so much on what it could be. So I don't listen to much music. And so my wife, when I'm with her, and she's got it on, what's the country station on the satellite, the new one, the Highway. I don't know no damn thing on there ever. My favorite one is the Red, White, and Booze is my favorite channel on there, because they play a lot of stuff that I like. They play old country and they play the newer country, but they play the fast, and they'll play some Southern rock. That's what country music to me is today, is Southern rock nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Leonard Skinner could have been a country artist today.
I do love some Skinner, I must say.
Who don't?
Big guitar influence growing up, no doubt.
The Breeze is one of the greatest songs ever, too.
That's J.J. Cale.
Good times.
All right, my man. So what do you got next? You going on the road? When are you playing next? Where can people see you?
So this seems to be the month of Ducks Unlimited banquets, fittingly enough, for this podcast. So I'll be in Bluffton, South Carolina this Friday night. Then I'm playing the Carolina Ole Miss game at Carolina on Saturday. Then me and a buddy of mine, Taylor Engel, who's also a great songwriter. We've been writing a lot together. He is a fantastic golfer as well, and we're coming up with this kind of putting the country and country club idea to pitch to some golf courses to where we can kind of intertwine a tournament and then have number ones that aren't number ones yet. So we'll play a ride around the night before, have a dinner and a banquet, and then have a tournament. So that's coming up this month. I'm finally home for a little bit. If y'all had talked to me the last couple months, it would have been hard to pin down a time. This worked out perfect. I think I got 25,000 miles in about 5 months on the new truck. So just burning it up, man. And then we got a lot of corporate Christmas parties coming up in December. So again, I do a lot of private stuff. So if anybody in Texas wants to have some music, just holler at me on whether it's Beam Country on Instagram or booking at Beam Country on email. We got Don't California My Carolina is out right now, along with a plethora of other songs since 2021. And we've got a song called Mexican Bar coming out that is a duck hunting trip song that'll be out probably end of October, 1st November.
You're going to be at the South Carolina Ole Miss game, you said?
I will.
That's got to be Ole Miss got licking some wounds. Hey, if you run into Cornbread Cowboy there, tell him I'm a big fan of his. I'd like to get him on the podcast. Do you know who he is?
You want me to FaceTime
Do you know him?
Hold on.
Cornbread.
I doubt he'll pick up. But yes, I don't know him well. Taylor's really good friends with him.
Oh, he's fucking great.
Hold on. Let's see if he'll pick you up.
Do you know that?
He's usually on Do Not Disturb.
No, I don't.
Oh, he's great. He's fucking, he kind of mid-70s shitty in mid-80s.
I don't know who he is.
Oh, he's probably got his notifications cut off. He's quite the popular dude.
Oh, he is now. When I first started following him, I'd converse kind of back and forth, just like, you need to be on the podcast, but never ever could get him down. But I'd like to get him on. He's funny as hell.
Yeah, I met him. I played a show in Columbia. I don't remember which one it was. We hung out, and he liked the old school country sound. I gave him a T-shirt that says there ain't no pussies in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's all about that shit. He wears. I don't know where he gets his clothes. People must send him shit. He's got stuff from when I grew up. He's got the old coaching shorts, and he's got a big old beer belly, and he's got this fictitious girlfriend named Linda that's cheating on him with Ricky, and he's gonna go whoop Ricky's ass. And it's all Instagram, but it's Cornbread, CORNBREAD Cowboy, COWBOI.
That's funny.
Cornbread Cowboy. Tell him I'm a big fan of his. I'd like to have him come out here. I really enjoy his shit.
I will. We're actually the guy that I'm playing the tailgate for is a very good friend of mine, but also a sponsor. And he's like, dude, we got to get Cornbread in the duck blind this year. So I don't know if he duck hunts, but I'd imagine that hanging out around duck camp would be a blast with that.
He had a video the other day. Motherfucker ain't got no hair, got no shirt on, and he's walking out in his skivvies to get the paper or something. He's scratching his ass, it's so fitting for people my age because he brings me back memories of what my dad would have been like when my dad was in his mid-30s.
Right.
I mean, just everything about him, from the old pickup he drives to him coaching kid baseball with a cigarette in his mouth and having a beer and hitting grounders and shit. And that was my life growing up. So I really enjoy him. Tell him I said hello. We appreciate you being here, Andrew. If you get out this way, we'd love to have you come out here and shoot some birds with us. You're always welcome here at the lodge.
I greatly appreciate it, man. And I thank y'all for having me on.
Absolutely. Everybody go stream Don't California, My Carolina right now. Right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a good day and God bless you.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Beam.
Retired game warden.
New music coming out. Algorithms after him. So everybody go Help him out. Stream it. Even if you don't listen to it, go stream it.
Yeah, go stream the thing.
Help a man out. Help a brother out.
Algorithms is the biggest bunch of shit in the world.
It's tough.
It really is. Big debate tonight. When's this come out? Today or tomorrow?
Thursday.
Okay, well, never mind. The debate is tonight. Tuesday night's a debate, so we'll be able to talk about that when it's all over with. I don't think much is going to happen out of it. God bless everyone in Israel.
Lots of go hunt.
Lots of prayers for everyone in Israel. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great day. This is the weekend of the Gold Star hunt, so prayers for good, safe hunts with all those kids and be a good memory. Making good memories for them while they're here. Thank y'all. See you later. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Watch for deer. Check out all of our amazing sponsors. Go check out Hemp Hill Farm. Use our promo code BHP. Getting Old Sucks. CBD helps. Mallard Bay, Mitch Hall, Chevrolet, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Stanfield Outfitters, MLR Graphics, Mossberg, Double T British Kennels, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Shin Gear, Dirty Duck Coffee, Bull and Briar Leather. They just sent me a fantastic duck tote. Ducks Unlimited, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Our promo code there is BHP25 and Boss Shot Shells.